that the new iPhone?
Yeah, got it on T-Mobile. Fastest iPhone deserves America's fastest LTE network.
Introducing the amazing iPhone 8. It's the best iPhone yet, now on America's best unlimited network. For a limited time, save up to $300 on the amazing iPhone 8 after 24 monthly bill credits. And now join T-Mobile's iPhone upgrade program for free.
Eligible trade-in and finance agreement required. If you cancel service, you may lose promo credits. Contact us for details. Video at 480p. Small fraction of users over 50 gigs per month may have reduced speed. See store for details.
Hey, good morning.
Welcome to Voices for Change 2.0, the only podcast that focuses on mental health while mixing in movies, music, books, sports, and pop culture. Here are your hosts, Rebecca and Joe Lombardo.
Hey, good morning, and welcome to Voices for Change 2.0.
Hey, thanks for joining us today, guys.
We have a very special show in store for you today. We are joined by 4 incredibly talented and well-known mental health advocates for our first ever Keep Talking Mental Health Roundtable discussion.
Now, before we introduce our guests, we just want to remind everyone that we are not here to offer medical advice of any kind, and any advice shared here today should never replace the advice of your doctor or therapist. We are simply sharing our stories to help raise awareness.
If you wish to tweet us a question, I will have Twitter up on our screen during the show. You can just use hashtag KeepTalkingMH. If you're on the Blog Talk page, there is a chat room underneath the scrolling photos where you can participate, and our wonderful producer Scott will let us know if anybody's in that room. Or you can give us a call at 347-989-0126.
Yep, and really quick before we introduce everybody, I'm still dealing with a cough, so please be patient with me on that. I'm doing my best to stifle it. But anyway, like I said, now that we have all that out of the way, let us introduce our guests. Please welcome Rudy Caceres, Hannah Bloom, Matt Pappas, and Kelly Aiello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We're
really
you.
excited. We're really excited to have you guys with us today. It's going to be a great show.
Now, we have a whole bunch of questions in line for you guys, but before we get into that, we would like to give each of you the floor for a few minutes to briefly talk a little bit about your mental health journey and where you're at today. So if you're all set, let's get started.
Okay.
Great. Matt, since you sound the most ready, why don't we start with you?
I sound the most ready. I'm not really sure how to take that, but okay. My name is Matt Pappas. I am a blogger. My blog is survivingmypast.net. I blog about those living with dissociation, anxiety, and PTSD as a result of childhood trauma. I do podcasts and videos, and I'm also a certified life transition and recovery coach, which I just started opening up my life coaching business here. Actually, it will be opened up this coming week, believe it or not. So I'm excited to be able to take. Thank you. Yeah, I'm stoked to really take this advocacy journey to a new level of helping not only survivors of trauma, but those who are going through major life transitions, be it in relationships or in career or with family. So it's a new chapter in my life, not only as a survivor, but as an advocate, and I'm really stoked for what's ahead. And I'm also very excited to be here with you guys. So you guys can always find me on survivingmypast.net, and you'll also be finding me on beyondyourpast.com.
Awesome. That's great.
I love it.
And congratulations.
I was on you the other day,
Thank you.
and you have an awesome page.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
I believe that was Miss Hannah, if I'm not mistaken. So why don't you go next?
Okay, yeah, so my name is Hannah Bloom, and I run the blog Halfway to Hannah, and I work for healthyplace.com. I write the blog I'm Bipolar 2, and I also have a YouTube channel for Healthy Place called I'm Bipolar 2 with the number 2. And basically my journey started when I was in college and had a breakdown and eventually hospitalized. And, never thought in a million years I would be receiving a diagnosis of bipolar 2 disorder, but that's where my life took me. And it's been quite a journey, and basically I went to college for media, and I kind of saw this gap, a little bit of a gap in mental health, not like fully utilizing these mediated platforms that we have to spread awareness. So I was like, you know what? I know what to do as my career. I want to be an advocate. I want to help people. I want to do it this way. And so I started my Instagram and my Facebook and my blog and utilizing YouTube and sharing my story about pretty much going from a prom queen to a mental patient to a mental health advocate, and trying to reduce stigma and just make people not feel alone. And I'm really excited to be here with everybody.
We are excited to have you with us, Hannah. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Of course.
Mr. Caceres, are you around?
Yes, I'm right here.
Yay.
There he is.
How about you, sir? Why don't you fill in everybody?
I feel like I'm the least qualified person on this panel.
Oh, you know better.
Yeah, but I wanted to ask you, am I the first 3-time guest on your show?
You are, sir.
Yep, you're gonna get this really cool yellow suit jacket with a passion on the pocket.
I thought it was orange.
I want to be the first to make it into the 5-timers club.
You're well on your way. You're halfway there.
Yep.
Yes. So I'm Rudy Caceres. It's hard to describe the work I do, but I'm very active on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, on Twitter, and I kind of created my own community, especially on my Facebook page. So I interact with a lot of different mental health advocates of all kinds of different backgrounds, and I try to create an ongoing dialogue because one of the things about our advocacy work is that it has to keep evolving. So we talk about awareness, but we also talk about the different issues that affect us, and that's not always pretty, but I'm very happy that I get to facilitate those conversations, whether it be about forced treatment, whether it be about meds, whether it be about political issues and how it affects us. That's really my jam, is facilitating dialogue and creating community. So I also have done blogs for Healthy Place, and that's how I discovered Hannah's work. And I've also worked with other organizations like The Mighty, This Is My Brave, BP Magazine, Project Semicolon, and many others. So I'm constantly in the mix, and that's why I love coming on shows like this and getting to get my story out there.
Awesome.
We're glad to have you.
That's right. And it's funny because we're going from a 3-timer to a first-timer, and I hope that you're not too intimidated by this, having to share the stage with a few other folks there, Kelly. But welcome to the show.
Thank you. Not intimidated at all, actually. It's kind of funny. About 3 weeks ago, I had my first opportunity to give a lecture. It was to first-year university students, and it was with respect to mental health advocacy, the discourse, social discourse, policy around mental health, and then specifically bipolar disorder, because like you, Hannah, I also have bipolar 2. And let me tell you what nervous feels like. I was terrified, but so I got this.
Sweet.
So
awesome.
I'm from Toronto, Canada. I live way up here in the north. I'm a writer, also lecturer, advocate for mental health. I write for The Mighty. I know a lot of you have heard about The Mighty. I also volunteer with an organization up here in Canada. It's nationwidejack.org. It's the largest nationwide youth-run mental health advocacy group, and it's just about promoting education around mental health with youth. About a year and a half ago, I actually decided to quit my corporate downtown job and go back to school. And I realized how lucky I am to be able to do something like that. Not everybody can do that. So I'm actually now back at the University of Toronto studying neuropsychology, but I'm also working towards building a writing career around mental health. I write, both nonfiction, but I'm also working on a novel about a woman with bipolar disorder who also is suffering with complex PTSD from some issues in her past. So I'm very excited about that. It's like my baby coming to life. It's slowly killing me too. Yeah, and like I said, I have bipolar disorder too. My issues first started when I was about 18 years old, but I wasn't actually properly diagnosed until I was 32 or 33 years old. So that tells you something about, the mental health community within the healthcare community itself. Yeah, I could go on forever about that, but I won't take up the floor from anybody else too much longer.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you again for being with us today, and thank you everybody for joining us today. We are truly grateful to have you here on our panel, and we're really looking forward to having a great dialogue about all things mental health and battling stigma and such.
Yes, and please bear with us as this is our first time doing one of these roundtable discussions. So in case we screw up somewhere along.
In case we screw the pooch somehow.
Screw up along the line somewhere.
Yeah, gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
So, okay. So the first question that we have for everybody.
Well, actually, it's not going to be for everybody. We're gonna take Scott's advice, and we're gonna just because we don't want. We have a lot of questions, and we don't necessarily think that we're going to get to all of them, but we got some good advice from Scott beforehand, and we're going to kind of scale it down and maybe just ask a couple of you at a time certain questions. So if you don't get asked a specific question, don't feel like we don't like you.
Because we do. We really,
well, I
really
will.
do.
No.
Don't think we don't like you. We're just trying to streamline the process a little bit. So let's start with Matt. When you were first diagnosed, were you able to find a doctor or a therapist right away, or did you struggle with finding the proper help?
Well, it's kind of interesting. Like my whole situation didn't really unfold in that way per se. I mean, I had initially sought out the help of a therapist after my marriage ended in divorce, and I was just kind of trying to find a therapist to help me kind of put my life back together and figure out where I was going next and what I was doing. And so just through organic conversation and writing assignments and everything you do with a therapist, it kind of came out that I was abused as a child. And then that led to the diagnosis of PTSD and realizing the level of anxiety that I have and, what dissociation was. So for me, I was able to find help through my work through like an employee assistance type of program, where they like kind of find you counselors in your area and whatnot. But initially it wasn't about anything to do with my past or anxiety or anything else. It was more of just me trying to figure out what I'm going to do as a single parent again. So, but as it kind of came across, as I said, through writing assignments and stuff, it's like, well, wait a minute, this happened and that happened, and you're a survivor, and it sounds like you've got PTSD, and this anxiety isn't your ordinary anxiety. It's a higher level type of disorder, and all the parts about dissociation came up. So for me, it wasn't difficult, I guess, to answer your question, to find somebody because I wasn't necessarily looking for them initially. It just kind of happened. And, I mean, it worked out great because in the end I did get a lot of amazing help from an awesome therapist who I'm still close with today, even though, we're not working one-on-one anymore. But, it was kind of interesting how it all came about. It wasn't your typical search for help because you think something's wrong. It just kind of came out.
It's very interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
What about you, Hannah? Did you have any difficulty finding the proper help?
You mean in the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Well, see, one of the major problems is the fact that, and I've talked about this before, like this idea we have of what bipolar disorder or really any mental health condition looks like. So when I started feeling these like kind of uncomfortable emotions just swinging up and down, and I was seeing and decided to see a counselor, you know, the woman told me I was a spoiled brat, and that, you know, it's because I'm ungrateful and these kinds of things. So that was in the beginning, and when I got to college, the problem is that, you know, instead of really getting treatment from the specific college that I was at when I was kind of going through my breakdown, and this is understandable from a school's point of view, they were more concerned about the fact that at that point they had a liability. You know what I'm saying? Like, that I was at a point where if something happened, they were going to look bad as a school, you know, a small private school. And so I didn't really receive really good counseling there, and I kind of had to withdraw. But then it wasn't years until after my diagnosis of bipolar 2 disorder that I kind of decided to take control of my own life, that I found the perfect therapist, you know, psychiatrist, whatever. And I think a lot of it had to do with me, because I was kind of tired of being the one sitting across from this, you know, doctor with a PhD, and they're going to tell me what my life is supposed to look like, and if I do this and if I do that. And I was just like, no, that's not how I want to live my life. And so when I took on that attitude, I found a great therapist, and that's how I've gotten to where I am today, honestly, and that's kind of what I try to promote in my work, I guess. I hope that answered your question. You know, I've got a little bit of definitely. So I was like drifting on.
No, it's good. It's a good answer.
Really quickly, out of those of you, actually, I guess I should ask it this way. How many of you have been hospitalized for mental illness?
Raise your hand.
Me.
Me, 3 times.
Yes. I can't even count the amount of times, like probably 7, 8 times. Yeah.
I think I heard everybody but Matt.
Yeah, actually, I have not been officially hospitalized for that, believe it or not.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
So, out of the 3 of you that have been hospitalized for mental illness, let's start with Kelly. Did you feel it was a helpful experience?
Which time?
Well, let's say the most recent time.
Okay, the most recent time. Yes and no, I think. The thing is I noticed the first time I was hospitalized, I think I was about 20 years old, so that's almost 2 decades ago. And things have changed since then. You know, how I was treated, you know, back 20 years ago was pretty deplorable. But versus now, the last time, I think it was like April 2016, it wasn't that long ago. It was a lot more sympathetic. They were more patient with me, as well as I don't know what this is a thing, but I think it's also because I was older. I wasn't this, like Hannah said, this young girl who, you know, oh, she's just, you know, crying out for help and she's being a spoiled brat and, you know, that kind of thing. And I also had I have a really good support network too. So I did, and to be honest, I don't remember a lot of actually being in the hospital. So, you know, but I think, and I even remember the nurses and doctors were a little kinder this time, you know, versus 20 years ago, which was horrifying back then.
Yeah, that's good. That's
my most recent experience was in 2013, and it was deplorable conditions and horrible people. So
it was just as traumatic,
you
know, as what led up to her being hospitalized.
Yeah,
so it was bad.
Yeah.
So, Rudy, what about you? Your most recent hospitalization, was it helpful to you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been hospitalized 3 different times, and the last time was in 2014. I think it was March 2014, and it was an awful experience. I was in the psych ward for about 7 days, and nothing good came out of that. I mean, I was forcibly catheterized. I just felt like I was not getting any kind of help, that it was worse. No one wanted to give me any kind of emotional support, so I felt like it did more harm than good, and that can be hard talking about. So I'm glad you mentioned your experience. As horrible as it was, is that we have to keep talking about this, because we're never going to improve the system at all if we just feel like these kind of traumatic experiences were for our own good, as we're often told.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in that way, it's a helpful experience in that you're able to talk about it and shed light on what you went through.
Yeah, I'd rather not go through that, because if someone was a victim of domestic violence, you wouldn't tell them, well, at least you get to be an advocate.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You know, I mean, you'd rather not go through it in the first place, you know. Yeah. And that's the thing is, you know, when, how do I want to put this? When you encounter a situation that is, you know, the place is deplorable. The people are not helpful in any way. They don't care. They look at you like you're a number or a piece of meat versus, you know, a living, breathing human being. You know, that stuff that, as terrible as it is to go through, it's stuff that we need to talk about so that it does change. You know, there are a lot of hospitals that are really good out there that help and nurture and build you up, and those are the type of experiences that need to be talked about as well, and say, hey, well, this place is great, and you know, the hope is that the places that aren't as great will look to these other better places as a inspiration and say, well, hey, gee, how can we change what we're doing so we're not thought of as unfavorable, you know?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have absolutely have a problem with setting of confinement, where they don't do well and they can even become violent just from being confined. It's not because they're a bad person or that they have a violent nature. It's just that's what confinement does to some people.
Exactly.
I agree with that.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
So
there's a hospital here in Toronto that. Sorry, I didn't mean to run over you there. There's a hospital here in Toronto. It's called Center for Addiction and Mental Health, CAMH. It's pretty world renowned for mental health, and it deals specifically with mental illness. I think there's 3 campuses in Toronto. It's very large, and what they've actually adopted in doing is that they don't call their patients patients; they call them clients. And just even that language changes the discourse around mental health and mental illness. And you know, I volunteered there for some time, and it's just, you know, the way, you know, all the treatment providers and volunteers approached the clients was completely different. They're part of a community, and that's part of helping the clients get back out into the community with their illness. You know what I mean? So it's changing. Right. Definitely agree with Rudy on that one. That, you know, if we look to other institutions that are, you know, more forward thinking on this, and that, yes, it's a disease, an illness, this is not our fault, that, you know, perhaps we won't see as many inpatients as there really needs to be. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That is awesome. That they call them clients.
Yeah, you guys should look them up on Google them. It's a phenomenal institution, CAMH. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Language is everything when it comes to mental health, you know, so
it really is.
Refer to ourselves and how other people refer to us. That's unbelievable. Anyway, that was cool.
Yeah.
Sorry,
you know,
I didn't mean to totally hijack the show.
No, you're okay. No, but the semantics really is something. You know, just using a word one way versus another one will completely change how you look at a whole situation. You know, it's crazy.
So this is actually a question for all 4 of you, and if you could just kind of say yes or no, so that we don't go too long with this one, but are all of you still being treated today, or do you feel as if you're in recovery?
I'm being treated.
Yeah, still treated. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Treated for the rest of my life.
Okay, so Kelly, Rudy, Hannah, you're all still being treated.
Oh,
and
yeah.
What about
being treated?
What about you, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I had worked with a therapist for quite a while. I had worked with a coach for quite a while, so I'm actually in the midst of taking a bit of a break from it now to just kind of process everything that I've worked through. So I guess you could say, I mean, for me, healing, recovery, it's a lifelong journey. So it's good to, when you're working with somebody for a while, if you're in a position to be able to do so, to take a break sometimes and just give your brain a rest from the intense work that comes with working with a professional. So there will be more sessions in the future with a coach or a therapist, but I have since taken a bit of a break because it was pretty intense for, a good 2-year stretch. So I guess you could say, yes, I still am, but I'm in the midst of a break at the moment.
Okay.
We're on a break.
We're on a break.
All right, let me ask this of Hannah. Do you think it's possible to be recovered from something like bipolar disorder? From my experience, I don't think I'm ever going to be done with it. I think I'm on medication for the rest of my life, and I'm totally fine with that. I think that it's just like anything else. But there are people out there who feel that they've recovered from their condition, and kudos to them. I'm happy for them. But in my personal experience, I don't think I'll ever be fully recovered. Do you think that's a possibility?
Okay, no, I don't. And I think that's okay, and that's not a bad thing. If you've seen some of my videos and stuff about recovery, recovery is like not my favorite word when it comes to talking about like bipolar disorder, because I don't have a broken arm. You know what I mean? Like
right.
I have a disease that will be with me for the rest of my life. Like, what can we say? Like, do you ever recover from diabetes? No.
No, you just manage it.
You manage it. And I think the problem for me is that, like, I had trouble because it put this pressure on me to mold into this, like, perfect mental health patient that was completely stable. And the fact is that I have bipolar disorder, and ups and downs and all of these things will be for the rest of my life. And for me to put the pressure on myself to recover and then one day wake up or, do whatever, you feel guilty because you're like, now I have to start over. You know what I mean? Like the recovery process. I just don't believe like recover. I think that sets you up for failure. I mean, right? Like, yeah. I'm not going to recover, I don't know. That's my opinion about it.
That it's going to be
I actually
more
agree
of
with you totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, Rudy, didn't mean to cut you there.
Yeah, can I speak on this?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Please do.
Yeah, so I think we need to look at bipolar, just because I have bipolar, as something that we're going to live with for the rest of our lives. And so whether you want to see it as a disease or an illness or a gift or anything else, is that it's always going to be part of us. And I think we don't talk about self-stigma enough, because a lot of times I hear about people saying, I hate bipolar. I wish I never had it. I wish there was a cure. Well, there's no cure. And so we have to do all we can to make it a part of us and to find ways to use it to our advantage, which is not easy. It's a very difficult life to live with, but it is our lives. We can never just not have bipolar. So we have to find a way to work within it. And so I think with recovery is a misguided notion, but I think the more we can talk about being able to be comfortable with saying we have bipolar, we're bipolar, or whatever, and this is how we live with it, not how we suffer from it or how we hate it. And so I think that is where we need to head. But that's just my opinion.
That's
Can
great.
I say something following up with that, Rudy?
Sure.
And I totally agree with Rudy and Hannah on that one. What I think also with that is that, we have because we all three have bipolar disorder, we have our up days and we have our down days. And that language again is kind of hard to use too, because if we say our down days could also be hypomania or mania as well. But when we're not having good days, giving those days the space that they need, not demanding too much of ourselves too. I think, in today's society, it's, do, go. Why don't you know about this yesterday? That kind of thing. It's where I can't book more than one thing in a day. If I have a doctor's appointment, the rest of my day has to be booked off because I can't manage any more than that. And being okay with that means that I can get the best out of myself and that my loved ones can get the best out of me. So not denying, the crap that comes with bipolar disorder, but just giving it the space it needs, because this is something that we have to deal with every day. And if we deny it, if we try and, soldier through, the bad days, it could lead us to the hospital. You know what I mean?
You have to make it your friend.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It has to be your companion, not your enemy. Otherwise, you won't do well with it.
Totally.
Yeah, and I think we need to start advocating for more, not just acceptance, but for accommodations. And because in other communities with disabilities, if someone doesn't have a leg, we don't say, oh, you should just grow a leg. I mean, we try to find ways to accommodate them and to embrace them, and not try to say like, oh, you're broken because you don't have a leg and therefore you can't function properly in society. No, we try to do our best to take care of them and make sure that just because they are missing a leg or whatever, or any other disability, that they're not a productive part of society, that they have something to offer that is unique to them.
Maybe they're not disabled. Maybe it's society that is disabling.
Oh, now you got me going. That's
I agree.
Just leave it there.
I can go on that forever.
We've got to take a quick break here, guys. So this is Carly Robin Green with What is Love? What love is all about. We'll see you on the other side.
I've heard 10,000 love songs on the radio, played a famous love scene in my head, imagining someone beside me to hold, easing the cold emptiness, 'cause I was painting without color, dancing so low to no beat, till we kissed that night. I came alive. If you could be the one I've waited for to finally show me what love's all about. That mystery I've lived without. You give me a rush that I'll never
Hey there, welcome back to Voices for Change 2.0. We are so glad to have you with us today on this very, very special day. We are having an amazing conversation with 4 other mental health advocates, and we are really thrilled about it.
Yes, we are.
So let's start off with Matt this time around. Why do you feel that there is so much stigma surrounding mental illness?
Well, that's a loaded question. Wow. It really is.
We're gonna make you work for it.
Oh my God, I know, right? Well, I think really, and I mean, there's a lot of ways you can go down this road of discussion, but I think one of the ways, unfortunately, is that it's very misunderstood, and the media doesn't help much. Whenever there's any type of tragedy, any type of anything going on, one of the first words they start throwing around is, well, this person's mentally ill. This person must be mentally ill. And then they start throwing around words like, unstable and crazy and all these horrible words, and people start associating, oftentimes, unfortunately, someone with a mental illness or with some type of mental health challenge as suddenly being, somebody who can't contribute, somebody who's a danger to society, somebody who can't do anything but stay in the house all day, and unfortunately it just gets perpetuated, and it's always an uphill battle for, as much good as all of us are doing, and for all the amazing advocates and professionals who are trying to turn the tide, to end the stigma, whatever you want to call it, to help those who need it the most. It seems like it's a lot of times it can be a 2 steps forward, one step forward, 2 steps back type of thing. And so I think it's really just, it is an uphill battle, but it's a passionate labor of love, because we all know what we're capable of. We all know that the people we love and care about and interact with in our businesses or our blogs or whatever, what they're capable of, and we see the potential, but oftentimes, depending on what the topic is, it can be something that's just totally misunderstood. And in this society especially, people will take things at face value and not read into it, and that just really kind of hurts the cause a lot. So, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of ways you can go down this conversation, but in this day and age especially, the media doesn't help our cause in trying to raise awareness in a positive way, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah, I think part of it too is, humans in general fear what they don't understand. And when you've got the media throwing all this stuff out there right away, it's, people will think, well, this guy, shot up a concert in Los Angeles or in Las Vegas, and there has to be something mentally wrong with him, because otherwise why would somebody do that? And so right away they're going to ascribe a mental illness to this person. And honestly, we don't know in that particular one particular instance whether or not the guy had it or not. I don't know. Anyway, I haven't heard anything on the news, and so I can't speak on that, but I can say that, I think as far as the concept of a person just straight up being evil, human beings can't wrap their head around that. They're like, well, no, there has to be something wrong with that person, and so then we get stuck having to battle the stigma of that. And it's like, well, no, not everybody that is mentally ill acts that way or goes through that or is automatically violent or wants to lash out and kill the next person next to them. It is such an uphill battle.
It's the opposite, yeah.
I mean, bipolar people, I know cases, but the majority is who's speaking today. Empathetic, I can't step on an ant without feeling bad. And so when you see on the media getting compared to someone who does these horrific acts, it's just so damaging and untrue. And like you said, Joe, I completely being separated from the evilness versus having a mental health condition is huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people.
Sorry. Statistically, individuals with mental illnesses are 2.5 times more likely to be a victim of violence rather than to perpetuate a violence themselves. So, spreading the stigma that individuals with mental illnesses are violent is not only damaging, but it's, potentially dangerous for individuals with a mental illness because, who would believe that somebody with a mental illness was a victim of violence then?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm actually more open to the idea that there are just plain evil people in this world.
That's right.
Sad fact of life that we have to deal with, but it's true. There are people that, and I think, some of the motivation is the quote-unquote 7 deadly sins, like greed or lust or whatever. And these are their motivating factors to the damage that they do, But because the majority of people can't wrap their head around that concept, they pigeonhole it to, some type of mental illness. Most people that I come in contact, that Beck comes in contact with, I'm speaking for you here, babe, I'm sorry, they would rather avoid dealing with people. I know that from just us, there are a lot of times where, you don't want to go out in public, you don't want to see people, you don't want to interact, and so instead of being vindictive and violent and acting out, you'd rather avoid the situation altogether.
Just isolate yourself.
Yeah. You isolate.
Hey, can I add to that?
Sure.
Please.
Yeah. I don't think the media really needs to do more of their homework when it comes to these cases because it's comes way too easy to just blame mental illness, and there's always something underlying. There's always some past. A lot of times you'll hear people say like, "Whoa, it came out of nowhere. Like I never would know. He was a perfectly nice guy." But I mean, there's always something hidden beneath. I would use the wrestler Chris Benoit as an example. He you see him, he came up as perfectly normal guy, hardworking. No one had anything bad to say about him, but he had a history, long history of not only self-punishment, but also jealousy and domestic abuse, and just really a lot of bad stuff going on that was hidden beneath the surface that we didn't find out until weeks and months and even years later. So I wouldn't go as far as saying that people are inherently evil, even some people. I do think that there are conditions that are set in place that make people do evil things.
Mhm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to him, Rudy, just on a side note, after watching that movie Concussion with Will Smith, I firmly believe that that's what was wrong with Chris Benoit, was the CTE.
Yeah, but he also had a history of violent behavior and just that jealousy towards his wife and just having building that fortress of a house. And there was all these things even before. I mean, it's hard to tell when someone started developing CTE, and that's a whole separate story. But I do think that there was something that was even outside of that caused it, that we tend to overlook because it's easier to just say oh, it was all in his brain, he had an illness, he had this and that, when you're letting him off the hook. He did evil things, and he's a bad person because of that, and we should hold people like that accountable.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next. How about you, Kelly? What made you decide to tell your story, and what type of response did you receive?
I think actually it was, I do have a history of trauma in my childhood, and it was actually because of that I started speaking out about it. I started writing primarily for myself, journaling and whatnot, and then I decided, well, you know what, I've been living in silence for so long, so I'm going to put this up in a blog. And there was a bit of lashback from that, actually. But because of that lashback, I felt like there was more silence being imposed on me, and I'd lived with that for 30 years of my life. I was done. You're not going to shut me up any longer. And because of that, I started writing more prolifically. and really investing more of my time and energy and thought into, what kind of message do I want to send out there? Do I just want to, complain about my past, or do I want to, what kind of positivity do I want to get out of this, and do I want to spread about these issues? And then, during that time, I also got diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and I thought, well, I need to do some research about this as well. So I did that, and then I started writing more about that, and then the reaction started to come out, the reaction from, people who didn't even know me, people from across the world were sending me messages, I have this too, or this happened to me, and, I thank you so much for, saying what you said. This is very brave, and people believe me, and people now see, the people that I've been able to reach now see that mental illness it's not, while the main symptom is behavior, and we think that behavior can be controlled, that's not the case, and people are starting to learn and understand and ask questions, and that's what I want to the message I want to get across. Don't ever stop asking questions. That's okay. If you don't know, that's okay. Ask me. I will be honest with you, and I firmly believe, because I do feel like I'm in a good place, that, while Hannah and Rudy say, recovery is, I don't like that word either, but I do feel that I'm in a place now where I can be an advocate. I do have a support network around me, so I want to be able to help other people like myself. And I think it's my obligation to. And, the more I write, the more I speak, the more positivity that comes back around, and that feeds me too. So, yeah, shame the silencers.
That's right. That's right.
And what about you, Matt? What made you decide to come out and tell your story?
Well, mine was actually a bit of a similar circumstance to what Kelly said. Was I was a victim of childhood trauma, and I pretty much kept it silent for like 30 years. Didn't really bring it up, never thought about it, hardly ever talked about it, tried to push it aside and, just really not deal with it. And then eventually, as I mentioned before, when I started working with a therapist and it kind of everything came to light, I realized, things were starting to be put into place, like maybe this has been affecting me, and maybe this does, affect my judgment and my self-esteem and every bit of my life that I never even realized. So once I kind of started to put two and two together, I started journaling just privately. And then I realized, hey, well, maybe somebody might want to read this someday. Maybe it'll help somebody somewhere. So I created a blog, and I started writing initially, and it was really just all about, the struggles, and, I feel this way, and this day is horrible, and why am I feeling this way, and what's going on, and, I'm a survivor, and I'm trying to reach out for help. And it was a lot of those types of blog posts, which still really, really resonate with people today, people who are just discovering they were victims of trauma and what have you. And then as I began to write more and more, I started going into podcasting, doing Periscope videos and whatnot. I started to see a shift in my writing, in my overall well-being, my attitude, my outlook on life. Working with a therapist and a coach really helped. It was an incredible experience. And looking back over the blog, over all the blog posts that I have, I can see a shift of where I was to where I am. And so I feel like there's a really good – I'm also, I feel like, in a good place to be an advocate and, understand that there's always going to be healing ahead and new revelations and things that will come up. But also to understand that I, too, have an obligation to share my story, and I've gotten a lot of feedback from people. Like even on that initial blog post, the first time I ever posted something on February 4th, 2016, I started getting tweets and comments like, dude, nobody ever told me this, or, dude, nobody's talked about this. There aren't enough guys telling me about this. I can't believe you're saying this out loud. And I was just inspired, like, there's actually people out there who want to read this. And I started doing more research, and I realized what a platform is in front of us to be able to help people who don't have a voice, people who can't reach out for help, and just to know that you're not alone. As you all know, living with any type of mental illness or being a survivor, knowing you're not alone is really honestly half the battle, and you realize just how inspired and how motivated you can be to help heal when you start seeing somebody writing about it and talking about it. And that's really what kind of started to really propel me into the next level of getting my certification as a trauma recovery coach, to really help people in ways that I was helped because I know what it feels like to, wake up every day and dread what's coming, to have no self-esteem, to feel like everybody's judging you and looking at you, and everybody looks down on you and thinks you're, incapable and you're not. I mean, all these things that we all know about. And I'm grateful that I was able to use my platform, and I still am, to be able to do that, and now to take it on a more, on a different level of helping people, like I said, in ways that I was helped. It's, like Kelly said, I think it's an obligation for me to really take my story and help as many as possible.
That's
well
right.
said.
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah. And that's the thing too is we're not alone. And Kelly, when you gave your answer on this question, you briefly mentioned that you got some backlash from people about this. I'm sure that you had loved ones that left your life over it, as I know the rest of us have. And the one thing that I'm finding as I get older is, you're born, you have your family, you grow up with them, and they're your people, and sometimes they're your people for your entire life, and sometimes they're not. And sometimes we find the people that are going to be our people for our own life, and sometimes it's the people that we choose. And when you have the people that leave you because of, you're battling bipolar disorder, or you're battling DID, or you're battling borderline personality disorder, or anxiety, or any reason why they leave your life, the other people that come in your life and stay with you through those actions, those are your people. That's your family, And that's the thing is, with this community, with the four of you on the line, with Scott, who's behind the scenes, all of you are our family, and that there's a comfort in knowing that, and just I really want to quickly want to say, just we appreciate the hell out of you guys,
Well, I consider you my daddy.
That's so wrong.
Thank you.
So wrong, yet so right.
We're gonna have a talk about this later, young man. But no, seriously, we pick our people sometimes, and our people are our people no matter what. And our people take us good, bad, or otherwise, and stay with us and don't abandon us.
Yeah, there's a meme that says something along the lines of, you will be too much for some people, but those aren't your people.
Yeah.
So
we're one tribe.
And I definitely agree with you. And I will say that the main reason when it comes down to it, the reason why I got into mental health advocacy and sharing my story was to make friends. I just felt so lonely, and I didn't expect to make money or travel or win awards. I just wanted to make new friends, and I felt like that was the only way. And I was keeping it all in. I had friends, but they didn't understand. I couldn't talk to them about what was going on. I just felt like all this was bottled up, and when I let it all out, and the more I keep, the more I reveal, the more vulnerability I show. It always pays off, and I've mentioned that before in past interviews, which you can listen to in the Voices for Change archive, #ShelfLife.
Thank you. Shameless plug.
Terrible. Anna, what about you? What made you decide to tell your story, and what type of response did you receive?
What made me share my story? Well, I think like what Kelly had said too, almost like an obligation, not in a bad way. But I feel like, I was on this path to, working this 9 to 5, just hiding everything that had happened, hiding my disorder. And at the last minute, I don't know, something came over me, and I said, you've been given this story for a reason. How could you not hide it? And I think what else that I saw, because I was studying media as much as I hate it for what it does to mental health, there's also a very positive side. And when I was really looking and like became obsessed with these platforms, and especially like the body image movement, right? I mean, what they are doing and the models and utilizing those platforms to say, I get cellulite, I have a big ass, you know, this, that, and the third, excuse me, you know, whatever. I
Me
saw
and my
that.
giant ass.
Like, hey, like, look at me and how they motivated other women and men to do this. And I said to myself, oh, my God, like, that's what I have to try to help do in mental health. You know what I mean? For people to take pride in the way that their mind was given. And I felt like I had this story that maybe people could relate to. And so I decided to do it in that way. I received a lot of backlash. You know, I mean, I do the YouTube videos, so you always get the commenters, you know, when I do dating by bipolar disorder, you know, I would never date you, like, you know, in that regard, being that I am dating and everything. I mean, you kind of see it. Men are more hesitant, but I was interviewed for Teen Vogue this past May, and we talked about dating and bipolar disorder. And listen, like, the fact of the matter is if you don't want to date me because I have bipolar disorder, that's not on me. You can't handle challenge in life, and you're going to face that inevitably. And you're not going to make my problem your problem. So I take stigma, I mean, the backlash that I receive with a grain of salt, especially because I receive way more positive feedback.
Yeah.
And that's awesome that you were interviewed by Teen Vogue, too.
Yeah, definitely.
It was really powerful. It was just great to see a platform like that talking about it. You know,
it's funny. It's funny. They've actually had a lot of stuff come out, I've known for the past year, political stuff and otherwise, that they've reported on. And it's kind of amazing because they're going down the same route that you would see like a Newsweek or a Rolling Stone or something go down. You know, and I keep seeing different people pop up on Twitter that write for Teen Vogue, and you read what they wrote about, and it's like, wow, that's really amazing that, you know, because you expect, okay, it's going to be like teeny bopper type stuff, and it's totally not, you know, and it's totally awesome that it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it goes to show that just because you have a younger audience doesn't mean you can't talk to them like adults. And that someone can like fashion, someone can like makeup and celebrity gossip, but also be interested in politics and all these other major issues that are going on in the world.
I think people are fiending for authenticity and truth and realness because we're struggling. You know, I mean, I was a teenager and I think the average onset of bipolar disorder, I was actually 20 when I went to the hospital like Kelly. And I think people, it's like, okay, like, of course, fashion and style, but it's like people are fiending for content and relating to beings and talking about these issues. So I'm totally down for that because, you know, I have many.
Yeah, along that line, too, I think, you know, with Teen Vogue, I obviously don't read it, but getting to the younger audiences is very crucial because, you know, our youth today are suffering more so than in any other generation before them. And there's still a lot of stigma with teens, you know, and there's a lot of teen suicide and depression rates are a lot higher among teens these days. And I think beyond that, it's trying to get to the demographics of people who are stigmatizing, you know, and being able to educate them in a non-patronizing, non-confrontational, you know, just sort of a conversational way, saying, you know, I see what you're saying, but perhaps maybe this is another way to look at it, framing it in a way that's not threatening to them, but helps them to see, you know, this is an illness just like any other illness, like, you know, diabetes, like Hannah said. You know, it's easy to get to the people already suffering because they're for the most part, looking for a connection because they feel alone, they feel isolated, they've been stigmatized. But let's try and get to those individuals who may not be suffering. Maybe they are, I don't know, but they may not be suffering, but they have a misconception around mental illness, and youth are crucial in that aspect. You know, that's what I think.
Yeah. And
you know what? That's a great point. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish your point, Matt, because we got another break coming up, and I don't want to cut you off while we're still on the subject.
That's okay. I was just going to say, quick, I had done a podcast with somebody who had shared my story in his book, and he goes around to a lot of colleges and high schools and talks about that very thing to teens and young adults, trying to get to them before they get to a crisis.
Yeah.
Before they get to a place where they are thinking of taking their life, or thinking they're not alone, or thinking they're alone and nobody cares and nobody understands. So reaching, I guess the younger generation, not that I'm that old, but, reaching the younger generation with that message of hope and that message of, hey, if you ever feel this way, you're not alone. There's help available. If, you're not out of your mind, you're not helpless, all these things. So I think it's a great point, for your message to teens and to anybody who can reach young adults.
Yeah.
I think that if anybody had come to me with my story at a young age, it would have made a huge impact on my life. And I firmly believe that if anyone had told me, look, these are the kind of things that you can anticipate with your condition, that it would have completely changed the outcome. I don't think I would have been hospitalized 4 times. I don't think I would have tried to take my own life, because I wouldn't have felt so alone and felt so lost. And I think that reaching the younger generation before it gets to, DEFCON 5 is of vital importance. And, that's why I started the petition that I started about educating kids, even in elementary school. If you're going to teach sex ed, teach mental health as well.
Yeah. If we have any hope of truly changing and breaking the stigma and changing people's outlook on mental illness and whatnot, it's going to be our education of the next generation of the youth coming up. It's going to be the elementary school kids and the junior high kids. Because we, even back then, I remember there being, just a complete unawareness of that whole situation when I was a kid, and I've learned a lot from being with Beck, and it's just the education needs to start at a young age. It really does. That's the only hope that we have at this point, because, our generation is dealing with it now. Our older generation that's ahead of us, they don't get it at all, and they come into it too late, and so trying to help them understand it's a struggle. But getting to the kids, they're a lot more accepting of the education. They like, okay, that's why they're that way, and I think that's how we're going to break the stigma. So that said, we are sorry. I was,
no, go ahead.
No, we got to take a break. So that said, we're going to be playing On the Street Where You Live by Stephen Davis. And just a really quick reminder to our listeners, this is a special 2-hour episode. So stick around after the song, because we're not going anywhere.
I have often walked down this street before, but the pavement always stayed beneath my feet before. All at once am I several stories high, knowing I'm on the street where you live. Are there lilac trees in the heart of town. Can you hear a lark in any other part of town? Does enchantment pour out of every door? No, it's just on the street where you live. And oh, the towering feeling just to know somehow you are near. The overpowering feeling that any second you may suddenly appear. People stop and stare, they don't bother me, for there's nowhere else on earth that I would rather be. Let the time go by, I won't care if I can be here on the street where you live. To know somehow you are near. The overpowering feeling that any second you may suddenly appear. People stop and stare, they don't bother me, for there's nowhere else on earth that I would rather be. Let the time go by, I don't care if I can be here on the street where you live. No, and I'm on the street where you live.
Hey, welcome back to Voices for Change 2.0 on this wonderful October morning. Actually, it's afternoon now.
Yeah, sure.
If you're just tuning in, we're having a very special episode. It's a very special Voices for Change 2.0, kind of like a very Brady special or whatever.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. We're talking. We're talking with a bunch of wonderful folks today: Rudy Caceres, Hannah Bloom, Matt Pappas, and Kelly Aiello. And we are so honored to have you guys with us today. Thank you for taking a huge chunk of time, really, out of your schedules to be with us today.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
I would just be laying in bed anyway.
I was going to say something like that, too.
Honestly, so would we.
Yeah.
We'd be just laying here staring at the ceiling. So.
No, I still would have been asleep. If Joe hadn't gotten me up with a smoothie, I probably would still be asleep. So.
And that's not a euphemism. I went to Dunkin' Donuts and got her a smoothie.
Oh my God, you're a dream.
My smoothie.
That's nice.
We don't have smoothies.
All right.
Well, you're also not in the Detroit area, are you? If you're in the
hey,
Detroit
we got the dunks in L.A.
Well, then you have to go to the Dunks in L.A. and get one.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Hour
to tell you.
2, sponsored by the Dunks.
We seriously got to get on that for as many times as we've mentioned them on this show.
Yeah, really.
So how would you guys like to sponsor a podcast?
So this is going to be a question for everybody. I know we've touched on it just a little bit here and there, but when you started your whole mental health journey and started to talk a little bit more about it and, make it public, did you feel that you were supported by your family and friends? We'll start off with, let's say, Rudy.
I never really wanted to talk to my friends or family for the longest time. Even when I was sharing on Facebook, I still didn't want to talk to them. I was kind of hoping they would see it and they would educate themselves and things would be less awkward. But just I don't really have a relationship with my family now, so I can't really speak on that. But I mean, it's funny. There, in some ways, I am as open as can be, and there are others where I just don't get good vibes. I don't want to talk about it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Very cool.
Okay, what about you, Hannah?
So when I first decided to come out with my blog and stuff like that, I mean, my parents were like, oh my gosh, like, what the hell are you thinking? And I don't ever look at that response as a non-supportive one, because as funny as it is, me living with bipolar disorder, if I was in their position and my daughter said that to me, I would probably just have the same response because of the stigma and the fact that, it's a risk. Career-wise, I'm only 28 years old. I mean, it could put you in a bad spot. But support, I do get, a lot of support from my family. I think they misunderstand, some of them, what I'm doing. I still get very stigmatized things said to me, but majority support me. They have no other choice, you know what I mean? Because it's like, either hop on this circus train or get off. Like, that's just how I, so you're either in it or you're not. Like, I don't look for anybody to give me a thumbs up on doing what I feel is right. So, I feel like majority, I get support.
And you, Matt?
In some ways, yes. I don't really share it with everybody too much in my immediate family, although the ones that I deem safe, they are very supportive, yes. The ones that I perhaps feel are not going to be as supportive or wouldn't understand, or for any other number of reasons, I don't talk about it a whole lot. So, and again, the same way with friends. There are some friends who are understanding, open-minded, supportive, who I have shared some of it with. And, they're very, cheering me on and very supportive. And then there's others who I just don't bring it up with. And I think it's part of that on the friend side is just kind of really keeping those healthy boundaries. Well, and on the family side too, keeping those healthy boundaries up of surrounding myself with people who will be supportive and understanding, and, not necessarily tell me what I want to hear, but just be an understanding, supportive person, and will get where I'm kind of coming from and not judge me. So, kind of boundaries plays a lot into who I really open up to. And so, there are some that are very supportive and others that are not so much, and those are the ones that I choose not to share much with.
Mm-hmm.
That makes good.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah. What about you, Kelly?
I think, like, with support, there's, different levels for me. When it comes to my DNA family, that's what I like to call them, because all I have from them is my DNA. No okay. Support at all. Zero. In fact, they used it against me very publicly, and that's pretty crappy. But jokes on them, I guess. My in-laws are phenomenal. My mother-in-law is just such a doll. She's been there when I've had, some serious breakdowns. And that's a scary thing for people to see. And not a lot of people have seen when I've truly broken down. It's a kind of a frightening thing to experience. My husband, of course, he's my family. He's seen the worst of it. And, I think a lot of you can understand what the worst looks like. It's not a good place to be. But slowly I'm actually starting to develop a couple of friends. I have 3 girlfriends who are just, different levels of support, but I'm pretty confident that they would all be there in the worst of the days. But again, I do understand that, sometimes it can be emotionally taxing for my loved ones. And I call them, they're my family now, my closest friends and my husband, my in-laws, they're the family that I was meant to have. But I also don't want to put that burden on, I still feel guilt, right? I feel guilty if I've had, a breakdown, or if I've been in the hospital, or if I've, done something that can be definitely attributed to hypomania or even mania. There's zero judgment from them. My best friend of 20 years was there in the middle of the night when I had my last breakdown, and it was, it was really bad. It was scary, and I got strapped to a gurney, hauled off to the hospital, and she was there, and zero judgment. She called me the next day, don't feel bad, I love you, and and that's important. That means something to me. So support, there's levels.
Yeah. And that's
Mm-hmm.
important to have that kind of support, that level of support, and it's not everybody has that. And so those of us that do have it, we need to treasure that, that's special.
Yeah. And hard to find.
And hard to find.
Them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let them know how much they mean to us.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's a really important thing. I think that's the number one goal of all of us, is to let the people that are there for us during the most difficult times and let them know how much they're appreciated. Otherwise, they may not be there for the next difficult time.
Yeah.
I have to make a quick shout out too about family, because I know my mother and father, my mother especially, is going to be listening to this. I have the best parents in the world who do not have bipolar disorder, are completely emotionally stable, and it's taken them a while to kind of understand, but they love me and they put that love before anything. And I have to make that shout out. So, Mom, do not text me and be like, what the hell, Ann?
Hi, Mrs. Bloom. Hi, Mrs. Bloom.
Hi, Mom.
Yes.
Shout out to Mama and Daddy Bloom.
I face some consequences for that. Okay.
I'm happy we got that business out of the way.
So I know that we were talking a little bit about stigma earlier, and I just kind of wanted to go back and go over that a little bit more. Do you feel that we've made positive steps towards limiting the stigma, and where do you feel that we're lacking, Rudy?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in some ways we've made progress, in others I feel as if we're still have muddied the waters with trying to get our message out, because we don't have one unified message. I don't necessarily think we do, because there's so many backgrounds and so many different identities, but above all, we just want to be accepted. We want to be able to live our lives authentically without being discriminated against, without all these bad things that happen that we call stigma. And I feel we need to be more comfortable with having these divisions and not feeling as if we're all at war with each other, and being able to embrace our differences. And so I think that's where we're headed. And we also need to talk more about the things that outside of awareness, outside of making sure that people aren't jerks to us anymore and aren't saying just completely ignorant stuff, is that what do we want to achieve now? Because we have this platform, more people are talking about mental health than ever, and what can we do with this platform now going forward?
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely. So what about you, Hannah?
Oh, yeah. Sure, of course, I think we definitely made a lot of progress, but I definitely have days, specifically I remember after the Las Vegas shooting and stuff, I was down a little bit because I thought, oh God, here we go. You know what I mean? It's with mental health, you don't go one step, you go 50 in a moment. And so that's kind of nerve-wracking, but I think, for the most part, we've definitely made progress the way that we speak about bipolar, managing it, embracing it, finding the light. So for sure, I think I hope to. I know we all will hopefully inspire other people, and I think that it's going to be a great thing in the future, but it's going to be hard. So, but I know Rudy is. I know Kelly and Matt are. So let's do it. And Rebecca and Jeff.
Go team.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need to get Matt's response to that before we move on to the next.
Yeah. I was going to say really quick. I forgot what I was going to say really quick.
I'm sorry,
Matt?
that's my fault.
I'll jump in and save it.
Save me?
Hey, we're live, pal.
Now, I mean, I think, fortunately with the internet, I mean, really, it's taken our advocacy work, our message, our story to a whole new level. And I think there's been tremendous progress with the ability of people to be able to reach out and get support in ways that they never could before. You know, even for people who can't afford to see a therapist or a coach, you know, they can reach out and they can read blogs and they can get help online. There's crisis text lines, you know, there's crisis chat rooms 24/7 where you can go and get support when you need it. So I think there's been a lot of progress made and a lot of reason to be hopeful for the future, and really reaching as many as possible. And of course, yes, there is always work to be done. There's always going to be step backs, and there's going to be things that happen that cause us to pause and people to start putting labels in the wrong places again, and everything that, you know, we are trying to work against. But I think overall, I really am just grateful that, you know, there is a lot of progress made. And, you know, like my social media timeline, especially my Twitter, is just filled with amazing people's blogs and stories and tips and strategies and places to reach out for help. And I mean, when I was a kid, if I needed this, it wasn't there. I mean, you know, there was no internet. So it was like, you know, there was nothing but going to see a professional and you know, that was pretty much it. I mean, now help is really just a couple clicks away. And I think that's really, really inspiring and really helps. It's one of the things that helps driving me forward is knowing how many people you can reach at literally 24/7, any day, anytime they need it. There's help out there, and that's what really kind of helps keep me going, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would agree with you there.
Yeah, it's a lot better. I liken it to when I was, this will be a dumb analogy. I like it to when I started playing guitar. You know, when I started out, I started playing back in '86, and you know, if you wanted to learn how to play a song, you know, if you got lucky, you got your hands on the sheet music, or, you know, more often than not, you're sitting there with your record or your cassette just trying to wear it out, trying to figure out what the notes were and everything. And now, like Matt said, you got the internet, you can go on, you watch YouTube videos, you got everybody showing you how to do stuff, and the resources are endless, you know. And, you know, it's good that we've got, you know, people knock different parts of the internet for different reasons. You know, they'll knock social media and, you know, oh, it's the devil and it's this and it's that, you know, and, you know, sometimes it can be. But I think with the age that we're living in, we are lucky.
Yeah.
I truly think we're lucky because, you know, we wouldn't have this forum. We wouldn't be talking to you guys right now otherwise. We wouldn't have been able to connect any other way. We wouldn't be aware of each other, you know, if not for, you know, Twitter and Facebook and any other social media thing you can think of.
And that's why I haven't, as time gone on, that's why I haven't gotten rid of any of my, because let's all face it, there are times when you think I'm gonna get rid of this damn Facebook.
Yeah.
You know, or I'm not going on Twitter anymore. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
Yep.
The reason that you keep it is because of the connection that you have with everybody, and that you are making these huge strides in combating all of the negativity. Like, I remember when I first started just a few years ago on Twitter, almost every time somebody posted something positive about their mental illness, there would be some jerk commenting, nobody cares, blah, 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 blah. And nowadays, when I go through my feed, I don't see that as much as I used to back in, even just 4 years ago. So I definitely think there's been an improvement.
And Rebecca, the thing is that with social media, it's a mirror, so it reflects us, and like with bipolar, it's not going away. There's never going to be any post Facebook, post social media world. So we have to make sure that we use it to our advantage, and we create the positive and do what we can to use it to our advantage, and we're doing that. Everyone, I mean, we found each other through social media. The mental health community has thrived through social media because we live across the world. A lot of us, we're just at home all the time, and we don't have really anyone to talk to in our own communities, in our own families. And oftentimes, we only have that kind of connection online, on social media. So, and I mean, I get it. Like, social media can be really bad. There have been times where I've wanted to give up, where I just felt depressed because I saw so many others having so many better lives than me, who I felt like they were suffering and I'm still suffering. Like, so why are they having a great life and why am I not? And that would give me such jealousy and make me feel so nasty inside. But overall, it has helped fuel me. It has helped make me thrive. So it is what I put into it, and what I put into it is as much positive change and creating community as I can.
Yeah, definitely. Social media, like, I have to tell you, like, it is like, thank God for it, right? I mean, I know we were saying that, and I think one major thing for the mental health thing is it gives the power back to the people, because you can't beat it, the way information spreads, like a message, a picture. And I think in the mental health community, what is so huge about these platforms is that we're reducing control of the gatekeepers of information. So, like, the news media, like, they don't have as much control anymore and of putting these ideas out. Now we've taken back power because we're spreading, like, a message, and over time that's just growing and growing, and hoping to find that balance at some point. You know what I mean? Like, people are looking more to social media and, like, accounts like all of us here to find out information about mental health. You know what I mean? Instead of Googling it or watching the news media and going, oh, bipolar, well, this is. So it's huge. I love it. Love it.
And there can be times where I'm like, I'll be watching one of Hannah's videos, and I'll be thinking like, oh my God, like that's me too. Like there's no one else like really saying these things, and it's been so helpful. And that's one of the main things, is that by putting ourselves out there, we come across people who have similar backgrounds, similar experiences, where we once felt like no one else got it, no one else understood us.
Right, exactly.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
On that note, we've got to take our final break. So this is Trevor Page with Warrior.
Open your eyes and tell me, is this what you believe? Into the depths of darkness, as dark as it can be. I will hold you tight and we will rise up with the sun. With my hand in yours, companion, we'll fight until we've won. Can't you see it, the beauty? I'll keep trying to open up your eyes, and I won't concede. I will put on armor, and I will stand up tall. There's nothing that I wouldn't do. I'll always fight for you. So if you stand with me and know it's worth everything, this is worth everything. With so much to lose, I'll always fight for you. Push it harder to the limit, the only way to achieve. I see this responsibility, and we will succeed. Why can't you see it? The beauty. I keep trying to open up your eyes, and I won't concede. I will put on armor, and I will stand up tall. There's nothing that I wouldn't do. I'll always fight for you. So if you stand with me and know it's worth everything, this is worth everything. With so much to lose, I'll always fight for you. But I fight just like a warrior. I'll always fight for you. Like a warrior, I'll be a warrior. Hold you down now. I'll always fight for you. There's only so much time, and some things you can't buy. This is not a test. I would give my last breath every day of my life. For you I'll always, I will fight. I will put on armor, and I will stand up tall. There's nothing that I wouldn't do. I'll always fight for you. So if you stand with me and know it's worth everything, this is worth everything. With so much to lose, I'll always fight for you. But I fight just like a warrior. I'll always fight for you. Like a warrior. Yeah. Hold you down now. I'll always fight for you. I'll always fight for you. I'll always fight for you.
Hey, welcome back to Voices for Change 2.0. I'm Joe. This is Rebecca sitting next to me, and all those other people that are on the line with us are incredible people that we love. Matt Pappas, Hannah Bloom, Rudy Caceres, Kelly Aiello. Thank you all for being with us.
Thank you.
You almost
Yes,
got a
thank you.
singing introduction, but I think she would have hit me if I started singing. So
You're doing a little bit of Ryan Seacrest imitation there as it was, so.
Oh, sorry about that.
Change 2.0.
Oh, it would have been more bombastic than that. I'm telling you right now. I think I'm getting my second win, so.
Oh, good Lord.
So
All
she
right.
gets to deal with me the rest of the day.
Let's get back to the questions before he gets his second win. So this is for all four of you, actually. We'll start off with Hannah. What coping skills do you use to combat depression?
To combat, depression. Gosh, it's hard, right? Because it's like when I get into such a bad depressive episode, I'm just so irrelevant. And I can't, barely even move. But what I do, so now what I do is, I never thought in a million years I'd be saying this, but, self-help books, affirmations, walking, music, kind of finding a way to take those deep emotions and write them out has been the biggest thing. Like, I know this is something that is so said all the time, but journaling and writing is just so huge. It places the emotions, the things going on in my head on paper, and it just kind of like sets them free. So I just think utilizing these like resources close by, you know, like reading, kind of making my mind be put somewhere else and utilizing those emotions or trying to that I have. Those have been the biggest coping skills for me. I'm a writer, man. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm not going to go on a tangent. I'm not saying like, yeah, I'm a writer. I write stories based on how I'm feeling and where I want to go. And that's really helped me in a lot of ways. Like, what is it, fictional
cathartic.
or non-fictional that's non-right? That's not true. What is that?
Fiction is
fake.
Fiction's
fake.
Yeah, fiction is fake, and nonfiction is
Non-fiction.
like, telling a true story and stuff.
I don't even know you did two damn things. Anyway, so yeah, that's how I cope.
Fiction would be like Star Wars, and nonfiction would be like
like a memoir.
Autobiography.
Yeah. Okay. I get it.
Okay.
It always comes back to Star Wars.
Oh, shit.
Of course.
All right, we're keeping with the ladies here. Kelly, how do you cope with depression? How do you combat depression?
Yeah, I've got like 20 years experience on this, so but there's still sometimes I'm like, oh, I can't do this anymore. But I really practice self-care, and I was actually involved in a panel a week or so ago about what is self-care. I mean, there's this lingo that's been going around and nobody knows what the hell it is. It's different for everybody. For me, self-care is just acknowledging, I'll know when a depressive episode is coming on because I'll wake up in the morning. It literally is. I wake up that morning and I open my eyes and I go, I do not want to open my eyes today. And then I just know. And you know what? I can gauge how bad it's going to be. And I clear my schedule and I spend some time with me. I Netflix, maybe I'll write, like Hannah said, I'll journal. It's like you can't organize a closet without cleaning it out first. And that's what journaling for me is. I also communicate with people. I try not to isolate myself. It's really difficult, but, that support network that I have, I'll send a text to any one of my, those three friends that I have. Shout out to Jessica, Muska, and Shreya. I'll just say, I feel like crap today, and while they can't fix it, I know that, they know that, they send love. I'll say to my husband, I don't feel well today. And he'll ask, is it physical or mental? And I'll say it's a mental illness issue. And he goes into action. He, wraps me up in his arms and, he's like, okay, I'm going to stay with you today, and I'll make sure I eat healthy that day, and half the time I need help with that, so he'll actually make food for me. And, I just sit with it, and I just let it happen because I know after 20 years of experience, it's going to pass. And if I try and deny it, it's going to get worse, and that's not where I want to go. So that's what I do. Pajamas are really important.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah. Does.
The whole thing does.
Yeah.
Rudy, what about you?
Yeah, this is hard for me. I was feeling really depressed yesterday. I live alone, so it can be hard when I don't have anything else going on in my life, and it may look as if I have so much going on, but if I can do like one great speech in a week, but then that's like 6 other days where I just really don't have much going on, and that can be a real that can be trouble for me because if I just lay around all day, I'll get really depressed, and it just gets worse. Like the longer I stay in bed, the harder it is for me to get out, and it's like I don't have a partner, I don't have a family member, I don't have a friend to just like shake me out of bed and get me going. So that's real hard. So I've tried to find ways to really get myself out and get myself going. And that can mean different things. Sometimes I'll just go for a drive along the coast, or I'll go for a bike ride, or go for a long walk. That can be really hard at times. So I don't think I've really have mastered self-care and really taken care of my depression, because like even with meds, like I started taking a new med recently, and for a while it was doing great, and then yesterday it was just like nothing would work. So it's an ongoing process, but I think we have to be honest about that as mental health advocates, and saying just because you may think that I'm doing well because I have all these things going on in my life, it doesn't mean that I'm not struggling every single day.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now, Matt, what about you?
True.
I think for me, a lot of it comes down to being aware and acknowledging what I'm feeling. And, like some others have said, I'm waking up, I'm not feeling really good today, so I'm not going to push myself too much. And understanding that some days are better than others. And so on those days when I'm not feeling so hot, I will do things like take a walk, or I'll just veg out on Netflix and catch up with some series and just kind of lay around and not really force myself to do a whole lot of anything, for a while. But then I also have learned just kind of over time as my self-care has evolved, so I guess for lack of a better term, is I find that getting into a creative space when I'm feeling kind of down is like tremendously helpful, at least for me, to where I'll go on like, Photoshop, or I'll go on my blog and write something, or I will create a meme or a new image or something from some type of, flyer for, my blog. Like anything I can do to get my creative juices flowing really helps me kind of pass the time. Not that I'm kind of numbing, stuffing, and avoiding it, but I acknowledge, yes, I'm feeling this way. I know where it's coming from, or I'm not sure where it's coming from, but I know something's up, and I take care of myself, and then I try to get into a creative space where I will try and, use my skills and my talents and passion for designing things to be able to just get creative. And then when I'm done, I'm like, this looks pretty damn cool, and then I'm happy and I'm pleased with myself, and I can kind of oftentimes pull myself out a little bit and, feel better about myself and where I'm headed when I can use my creative spirit, my creative space, to its full potential when I'm feeling kind of down. So I think it's really important for everybody to understand that self-care is what you make it. There's no magic formula. What self-care is for you isn't for me, but if it works for you, hell yeah, more power to you. And if it works for me, go for it. It's really, doing what makes you feel good, understanding what's happening, why you're feeling this way, and just really, really taking care of yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, that's probably the one of the best outlooks on the thing is, that self-care is what you make it for you and what helps you to feel better. I sometimes for me it's picking up a guitar, and just playing for an hour or two. But
I think the important thing is not putting too much pressure on yourself,
right,
or even your method of self-care. Putting expectations on it that you're gonna do this thing and you're gonna magically feel better. And I think it's really just when you're in that frame of mind where you're struggling, lowering your expectations is really important, because I know personally for me, all I do is make myself feel guilty that I'm taking the step back and not doing anything. Like I'll call Joe during the day and be like, I feel so damn guilty. The dishes need to be done. The floor needs to be mopped.
I feel useless.
I'm not doing anything, and it's just that I can't right then.
And I have to talk her through it, and be like, honey, it's okay that you don't feel up to getting up and doing 500 things today. If you tell her all the time, if all you're able to do today is breathe, then that's what you're able to do, and you accept it and you make peace with it, and you try again tomorrow. And that's true for everybody. Sometimes all you can do is breathe.
Joe,
and if
you
that's
sound
all
like
you can,
my husband.
but it's the truth. If all you can do today is open your eyes and breathe, then thank God, that you were able to open your eyes and breathe. Everything else is details then. And so we have to take part of the problem, and I see this is we try and plan. We plan for everything. We've got all these grandiose plans in our heads. What we're going to do today, what we're going to do tomorrow, what we're going to do next week or next month or next year. And life isn't like that. Especially for us and what we go through, life isn't like that. Life has to be, by the hour, by the minute, by the second. We take each little bit as it comes, and we don't put expectations on ourselves beyond the next minute. Because if we do, then we set ourselves up for failure. That's it. That's all I can say.
So really quickly, I just wanted to ask this one more question. I'll start with Kelly on this. Do you struggle with the holidays? Do you have concerns for the next few months?
Yeah, not as much as I used to, and I think it's because, my idea of family is changing and I'm accepting it. I miss my family, as, crappy as they treated me and as, not healthy themselves as they are. I still miss them. I grew up with them. So, and I think it's more the idea of I miss what could have been. But that's, it's changing. And you know what? I've, said, okay, it's fine. That's fine. But you know what? This is something that I can control now, and I can make the holidays the best that I want them to be. And I'm not going to take it away from, my husband or my friends and, Friendsgiving, right? But it's also not even just the holidays. It's the post-holidays. It's the winter. Winter is really hard on me. I hate the cold. I love fall, but, snow come February is just, Rudy, I don't think you know what I'm talking about.
I was going to say I like the cold, but then I remember cold here is like 70 degrees.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, we got down to minus 45, and that's Celsius. I have no idea what that is in Fahrenheit, but it was like Mars was warmer than Toronto. So, yeah, it gets really cold, and you feel like you're bundled up all the time. And, even just trying to move to get to the streetcar is like, oh, this is too much work. And I'm just going to stay in bed till April. And, the lack of sunlight. And, anyways, I could go on about winter. It's rough, and that's the worst part of it, That is the worst part of it. So, yeah.
We're kind of in the same boat on that, actually.
Yeah.
With the holidays.
We're not that far away from you, Kelly. So we believe you. Yeah. We totally understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're getting to a point here where we're going to have to be signing off with you wonderful people shortly, and I wanted to give each of you the opportunity to briefly speak about your website, your blog, or your social media where folks can find you. So why don't we go ahead and start off with Matt?
Absolutely, and I just want to say thank you guys, Rebecca and Joe, for having me on. Thank you, everybody. It's been an amazing experience, and hopefully we can do this again because I think we touched on a lot of great topics and we shared a lot of great insights. So thank you for that.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. As far as me, yes, my name is Matt Pappas, and you can find my blog is at survivingmypast.net. That's the blog that started my whole healing journey and this whole advocacy journey. I do podcasts. I do Periscope videos every Sunday morning, podcasts once a week, and my new coaching website where you can work with me one-on-one and in group coaching is at beyondyourpast.com. There's all kinds of great information there, and that's going to be launching. As we're recording this right today, it's going to be launching next week, so definitely stay tuned to my social media. You can find everything on the blog. Contact me anytime. I would love to hear from you.
Awesome.
Okay, Kelly?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I lost my voice there. Primarily a writer for The Mighty, so you can look me up. Just Google Kelly ILO The Mighty, and it'll come up. Also a Twitter. I love, like Hannah, I love social media for advocacy purposes. So it's at Kelly C None, like see none, hear none, speak none, that kind of thing. Yeah, and I mean, I'm not as out there as the rest of you guys. I don't have a blog or anything like that, but yeah, that's where you can find me. If you want to Twitter stalk me, I'm cool with that too.
Rudy, how about you?
Yes, my home base is Facebook, so facebook.com/Rudy Caceres, and I'm completely public, so anyone can follow my page or even comment and share, and so I always like creating dialogues on there and sharing cool stuff, all the stuff that I've been featured in and collaborated with, including The Mighty, and This Is My Brave, and Healthy Place, and a Waiter Label. And so find me on there. I also do Facebook Live interview shows once or every other week, and hope to have all of you on there as well. So I just had one yesterday with a great guy, Logan Noon, talking about bipolar. And I'm also on Instagram and Twitter at Rudy Caceres. No spaces or anything like that, or underscores, periods. And I look forward to doing more of these podcasts. Like I said, I want to be the first 5-timer. So it's been so great. And looking back on all the first show, the second show, and all the progress I've made, it's been so great. So I love the support, and I love that you, Joe and Rebecca, that you spent so much time and work putting this together, promoting it, and making sure that it is the success that it is.
Awesome. Thanks, you so
Rudy.
much. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
And Miss Hannah, last but never least.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so yeah, please, my Healthy Place YouTube channel, I love it so much. It's I'm Bipolar 2, like the number 2. And then I have a blog on their website, so please check that out. My blog, my personal blog, is Halfway to Hannah, so it's halfway, like you spell halfway, the number 2, and Hannah, and that is my Instagram, which I'm kind of like promoting this image series and this like hashtag Slay Stigma thing, so please follow me on that, and of course Twitter. And I really appreciate everybody, and I've loved this, and I can't wait to get to know everybody more. And Rebecca and Joe, you're just so epic, so thank you.
Oh, thanks, hon.
Well, thank you guys all for being here, and really we're really thrilled with the way that this turned out, and we definitely will do this again in the future. Might have to be next year because we're our schedule's a little bit booked, but
we have to plan for it.
Yeah,
so.
who knows?
Yeah, I'm telling you, one of these days I'm going to fly out to Michigan. I'm going to be your first live guest.
I don't think there's any room
I'm
in our
closer,
bedroom. There's no room in our bedroom for a third person on this desk.
That's not what Joe says, but okay.
But
you're supposed to keep that hush hush.
But no, we love you guys, and we're very, very grateful for you spending a couple hours with us today.
Yes, thank you so much.
We think this has been absolutely fantastic. So hang on just a moment. We'll catch you on the other side. But this is Long Grief with Battle Plan.
Believe what you learn, make it count.
Join us next week as Rebecca and Joe continue to battle the stigma of mental illness. Follow us on Twitter at Voices for Change RJ and on Facebook at Voices for Change 2.0.
Is that the new iPhone?
Yeah, got it on T-Mobile. Fastest iPhone deserves America's fastest LTE network.
Introducing the amazing iPhone 8. It's the best iPhone yet, now on America's best unlimited network. For a limited time, save up to $300 on the amazing iPhone 8 after 24 monthly bill credits. And now join T-Mobile's iPhone upgrade program for free.
Eligible trade-in and finance agreement required. If you cancel service, you may lose promo credits. Contact us for details. Video at 480p. Small fraction of users over 50 gigs per month may have reduced speed. See store for details.